first thing is that we live, this is me already, so we are living in an infinite data world. We are surrounded by data, and data are all around. So the first thing I want to say is data is not something new, it's something that already exists, and the thing that has changed the paradigm. Okay, great. 1 second. Because all the data, as I was mentioning, are all over around us. The thing that has changed the paradigm is the way that the capacity that we have to really evaluate and do some things with data. I guess also linked with the space, and we are going to data, to infinite and beyond. I don't know if you're aware of this picture. It's the WOW signal. It's in around the 70s, something like that. There was a radio telescope listening to the radio signal from the space. And during the night, radio signals completely different to the expected signals came into the radar. And this is the note that the scientific put on the paper, which is wow. This is something that happened and it never happened before and never happened again. So it's data all around. And it's the capacity to read all this data that is working on us. So let's start our countdown with 10. Okay, so regarding 10, let's go into the basics. It's okay, it's not working. One last thing. Okay, so what is big data? Big data, you have heard, if all you know about this, you let me and I'll go faster. So it's big data, and it's the 5 B's of big data. And the 5 B's are the volume of the data, it's a huge amount of data. It's the variety of the data, we are capable of working with several kinds of data. The veracity of the data, which is also important. The value of this data, how much value can you get with this data? And the velocity, how fast can you work with all data? So these are the 5 B's of big data. But the thing of big data is not only the data itself, as I was mentioning before, is the capacity to really work with them. So I'll go through these basic concepts, which are artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. All sound more or less the same thing, but are quite different. Okay, so artificial intelligence is something that we started around the 50s, something like that. And it was the idea was to program the machines the way as we try to program a human. So let's introduce lots of rules, lots of instructions to really behave like humans. And that's something that started, and it's something quite useful in case you want to teach a machine or a robot how to play chess, how to play whatever, doing basically things. If it happens B, then do B, things like that. So in the next slide, an example of this would be like deep Bluetooth. Do you know about chess?
Yes.
Oh, well.
We were just playing chess.
Okay, great. Do you know the story about Deep Blue and Gary Kasparov?
No.
Okay, Gary Kasparov was the world champion and the best player in the world in around the 80s, something like that. And IBM was challenging him, saying that they were capable of doing a machine smarter than him and try to beat him playing chess. So IBM put a lot of engineers, make a big machine, they call it Deep Blue, and they played against Gary Kasparov. And Gary Kasparov simply swept up the machine. The machine couldn't have any option with him. He beat the machine. He did some improvements in the machine. He said, hey guys, hold on, go home. You will never beat a human. And the IBM took it very seriously, and they came again some years later and they said, now we are ready, Deep Blue 2 is going to beat you. So the machine, they played for a series of 7 matches, something like that. And during those matches, the thing was more or less equal. And there was a specific moment in one of those matches, in one of those games, that Gary Kasparov was expecting the machine to behave like a machine, but then the machine did something completely different. And then Gary Kasparov, somehow they finished, they draw that match, and in the night later, during the night, Gary was with all his team analyzing why the machine didn't do the expected movement that every machine was used to do. And in this case, never happened. So they really started thinking, and they couldn't come with a solution. And the rest of the matches, Gary Kasparov was somehow disoriented, and also the machine did its best. And finally, Gary Kasparov lost against IBM. So this is a sort of artificial intelligence. You put lots of rules, lots of movements, lots of possibilities, and then the machine decides which one is better. But that's not the way that we want to teach the machines, because imagine you want to try, you want to teach a robot how to walk. You don't teach a kid how to walk just by simple rules like, hey, one step ahead, one arm after, then one this, then do this. It's not like that. You cannot teach enough. That's not good enough for teaching machines how to behave. And then we end up in the next concept, which is machine learning. Machine learning is a sort of artificial intelligence, but it's based on statistics and algorithms, which is how we use the statistic to show the most possible combination or solution for a problem. I guess you all have heard of Netflix and how the same full film is shown to different people with different pictures, which makes more likely to each of us go to see that movie, okay? So that's an example of machine learning. And then the next level would be deep learning. And I'll explain it with a very easy example. What is in the picture? We have to work, sorry, so you can fall asleep.
Just a white screen.
Okay, it's not a white screen, it's a white square. Okay? It's supposed to be a white square, sorry. Sorry, John, we are colleagues. I'm not joke on you. Lucky you have the other ones, which are really cowards. Okay, so it has, when we see this, okay, immediately we see it has four sides, yeah, it has four sides. It's closed figure, it's a closed figure, it is a closed figure. It's perpendicular angles, yeah, they are. Equal sides, yeah, okay, then this is a square. So that's the way we think, we start thinking. Deep learning is based on neural connections, some sort of neural connections like this. They try to replicate the same things that's our brain, to how through different levels, they go deep in the learning and they come up with a solution. So this easy process that you see, this is a white square, something like it's so fast, but it's the way that currently the machines are working and the engineers are working for doing the machine learning. So no matter if it's artificial intelligence, machine learning, or deep learning, the things is that it's helping us. So I'm going to show you a short video. Let's see if I'm capable of showing. It's going to be at the end now. So this is a very stupid and easy example of machine learning. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Super thanks. Okay, I'll show you the video. It was to be think so they are teaching the machine how to do the form of the pancake, then the machine tries to do it itself. And every time it learns and gets more and more learning and how to do it. So they automatically. Wow. Then try out not enough, not good enough. We almost. Well, we can see for the 4 minutes it takes, although it's faster. And finally, they people doing this stuff like this. So you learn after quickly try or something like that. So I'm going to stop this. So this is a very stupid, okay. This is a very stupid example, but then we have other nice examples. I have to share this one, sorry. Okay, then in this one you have to be very. It's only 1 second that it takes, huh? So that's highway. I don't know if you have heard about the beep. It sounds a beep just 1 second before the accident takes place. So I'll repeat it. Now. So it's your car is taking an accident which is taking some other cars up ahead of you. So it's not even your car, it's something ahead. So this is the thing that we are doing thanks to this capability, because we have the data, we have the people, we are capable of gathering all the data around us, and finally have the capacity to process all this data and then decide what to do. There was another example when Google was trying to teach this, not the to make automatic driving of cars. So they teach the car, if you see a kid, just stop, don't do anything else, let the kids go. If you see a kid walking around in the past, be careful because the kids do strange things, sometimes they can go. So they were doing this traffic thing with the Google car. It came into a roundabout, and then the Google car stopped. Okay, it's nice to stop, it's careful, then go ahead. And the Google car wasn't going, and they were saying, something is going wrong. So they took the car with the I don't know how to. They took the car to the garage, and then they started analyzing. And the thing was that in that roundabout, just in the other opposite side of the roundabout, there was a kid playing with the ball, just very close to the highway or to the road. And the car just simply stopped because he said, "Hey, if there's a kid over there, I'm going to turn around and probably I will take the kid over." So that's the thing. So it's of course we have to. We are humans, and we will probably go around the roundabout, and when we saw the kid, when we see the kid running across the road, we will have to stop. So that's what we have to teach the cars. So I'm going to stop showing car accidents because it's not the purpose of the meeting. So I'm going to continue with the presentation. Second. Always pressing the button. Any questions from all the people there, or are you still shipping? Oh, keep the. Okay, so this was about machine learning, deep learning, all the things that we are capable of doing. And now we have gone to the infinite. We have seen that we are all around surrounded by data, and what is happening in the current situation. So I guess maybe you ever seen this picture? Yeah, I think it's quite famous. There is a new petrol, the new oil, and how big companies are coming, and how the companies that are capable of processing and working with data, its importance and size is coming bigger and bigger. This is the value of the data market in each of the European countries, and it's okay in Spain. As you can see, it's still very low, and we have a big opportunity of doing these things. So it's not only the data, it's the capacity of doing things with data. And some basics again, I know you guys have heard about GAFA, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. Sorry, I'm just in the middle of the Apple. And the Asian big corporation, which are for bad, it's Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent. Have you heard about them? Well, probably. And then what's probably the main difference between Europe, or I would say the western side of the world and the east side of the world, it's the use that they are currently doing, these companies, of the super apps. Have you heard about super apps?
Like the main applications everyone uses.
Sort of. Super apps is like an app that you download in your mobile, but it's not simply one. Here in Spain, if you download an app, you do download Uber for asking for food, or Uber for a taxi, or you download your bank application for doing banking. In these Asian markets, they are creating some sort of super apps which have all the things that we're using in just one single app. And this app has everything. We chat, we bank, we all these things with the same application. Okay. So once you download one app, it's all over the round. It's the same. Well, you don't need anything else. Sorry. Okay. And so this is basically what I was telling you about the super apps. And a similar concept to the super apps. What's the good thing? Well, that's the good thing. What's the key thing about the super apps? The thing is that one single company, one single application company, can gather all the data that you're doing around with different topics. So here in Spain, if I call for food.com, I will use Uber. If I do banking, I will do it with Banker, BBVA. If I'll do booking a home cinema or a cinema or a theater, I will do it with another application. The thing is that all these data are split, and no one has a whole overview of myself. While with these super apps, these companies can have the whole overview of you, the 360 overview of what are you doing, where are you buying, where are you going, with whom are you chatting, all these things. So that's important. Sort of similar effect, sort of. In the western side of the world will be like the world government that it will be like an Apple phone, which in Apple, again, you can download all these kind of applications, and Apple could have access to this data, which in reality they don't have. They only have access to some data, not the whole data that you are providing to your application that you are using. So this is, and then we are now in number 9. But there are, and this is the one thing that we have to be aware about regarding when you use the data, are the rules that you have to go to. So you have to obey the rules. Of course, you cannot. It's up to you. Because if you want to sleep in the jail, it's up to you. But then it's important. It's important. And why it's so important? The rules. This was also from an economist, because in Europe, the regulation for taking care and good use of data is quite advanced, and we are very focused. The European Union is very focused on trying to do a directive, they call it, on how to use this data and what things can be done and can't be done. And copying this, well, we launched the GDPR. I don't know how it's familiar to you. Okay. Are you aware of these things?
Yeah.
Maybe I can go faster. You.
No, in the data, that's why.
Okay, if you're the boss, then you tell me, because other guys aren't telling me anything. So, well, it's PS2, which is acquiring for financial services, and based on that, it has launched some similar laws in some federal states in the United States, in California, I think in Oklahoma was another one. So they are just trying to do some sort of regulation about this. But what's the key? So I'll explain you briefly about the GDPR. So the GDPR is a European Union law or directive, and this is the process that how in Spain should be the data processes. In the 90s, in the late 90s, we have the Data Protection Directive, which more or less says what should you do with the data. In 1999, it was the LOPD, Orgánica de Protección de Datos, which set some of sort of indication on how to process and what could be stored or not, and how it should be stored. But nothing really important said about that. But people said, yeah, I'm accomplishing with that. That's okay. But then it came GDPR, which it was launched in 2016, but it didn't enter into reality until 2 years later. We were given 2 years to accomplish with the new requirements. And the things that are important is that data and privacy has to be designed by default. That means that when you download an app, open a web page or whatever, it's not like in the 90s, late 90s, when you simply you even were asked if you allowed the company to use or process your data. You simply log in and the click was already done. Was done upfront. Now you have to voluntarily accept those terms. And just to make clear to the state or to the regulation that you were willing to share this data. And so this is tricky, because obviously you can go ahead or not if you click or yes or say yes or no. So the companies have to really collect that you were voluntarily allowing and giving permissions to the company to use this data and to do several things with this data. And if this permission is not given, the company can do that. So to avoid that and to get all these permissions, the companies started to really write very, very, very long condition terms, legal terms, which no one ends. At the end, no one reads. So they have produced the opposite effect. Instead of awareing the customers that what could be done with your data, and maybe you shouldn't click on that acceptance, people are not reading, because that's dangerous. People are not reading the 3, 5, 6 pages of things and simply say, hey, I don't care. And at the end, you are giving all the permissions to the company to do whatever they want, almost whatever they want. So this is something very tricky. So, well, I'm gonna go through quickly about it, because it's more or less the things that have to be done. And this is something very important. I think it's somewhere around here. Yeah, this is a small number, the 4%. This is the key number. Because the GDPR, what it says is that if a company is working on processing in a wrong way the data, can be demanded by the user, and this demand can be as huge, the fine that they can get could be 4% of the total revenue of the company in a global level. No matter if Facebook is doing something wrong, only in Spain, the revenue will be for its whole on the global billing of the company, which is a lot. So that's why they are a little bit more careful on that, and that's why also the EU is also trying to find if they are accomplishing with data or not. And one other thing is that about the consent that I was mentioning before, this 4%, the data transfer is that you are allowed, because you are the owner of the data, you can ask for those companies to deliver to you the data that they have, and then you can say what they have or not. But what it's not been said in the regulation, it's the way this data are provided to you. So some companies are providing you a PDF, some others an Excel file, some others even a text, some others are raw data, so depending. So that's something difficult. And that's also tricky, because you, as a final individual, it's your data, you are the boss. So you could do with your data whatever you want. If I have my data at Telefonica, and I want to share it with Vodafone, I can ask Telefonica, hey, give me your data. Hey, Vodafone, with all this data, could you provide me a better service or whatever? And the way that these data are not so well processed or can be offered to me in several formats, that's something that it's not making quite useful for that. And another thing that is important regarding data and financial institutions, because, well, it's the ethics, okay? It's no longer, well, let's see the other way. We are, day after day, we are more aware about the bad utilization of our data. I guess you know about the bad press that Meta is now getting because of Mark Zuckerberg and Cambridge Analytica and all these things. So that's something that you don't want to be seen. In fact, the Agencia Española de Protección de Datos has already delivered 3 big fines in Spain of 6 million euros, one to Vodafone, another one to La Caixa, another one to BBVA for not really treating correctly the data of the customer. So that's 6 million fines. Okay, for this big company, it's not such a big deal. It's a deal, but I'm sure the effect that they get on the present, it's not the desired one. So regarding the ethics, all this artificial intelligence that we're using has to have 3 things have to follow 3 key rules. It's the transparency. We have to be able to explain the algorithms. It's no longer a black box. You have to really say, we are offering you this coffee or this telco service because if you are like this, you are matching with this profile. Otherwise, it's not valid, that kind of proposal, those kind of proposals. I don't know if you can read from home, the avoid that instead of permission. When you start all these startup mode, the people is very avoid us for permission. What to say is ask for pardon instead of permission, because we have to do really quick things and we have to deliver fast. Regarding data, that's another way. You cannot do anything without the customer permission. Otherwise, we get fined, and it has a huge impact. So that's also, and then you have to get strong values, because otherwise, all the things that are happening with Facebook or ex-Facebook now Meta still are the same guys, and in terms of their trust, I think has been damaged. Although they are now launching a new brand. So we have been outside the world looking for data outside the world. Data is all over the space, and now we're going to the more traditional world, more pedestrian things. So let's talk about data and banking. When we talk about data and banking, because data we can do whatever we want, it's quite hot here. So we have 4 things that are the importance of data is accelerating. The data ecosystems are just working around. There are lots of initiatives related with data and on fintech. The state of practice, because nowadays we are capable of doing more and more data processing and offer more things and know more about our customers and the opportunities that they can give to us. Well, this is the same. And then the authorities are really aware of this, and they have provided, they have set a playing ground. That's PSD2. Are you aware of this? You are the only one, sorry.
We do know.
Okay, PSD2 It's a directive, it's an European directive that it's somehow trying to level the playing field for all the financial institutions all around Europe. And it says that, for example, you, the owner of the data, your data in one bank, but if you want, you can share it with another company. And the way you share this data is already defined. It's not like a PDF, a TXT, or whatever. So it's already defined, and that has opened the floor for many new players, like all these fintech, aggregators, companies like me in the USA, but here in Spain, Fintonic and some other aggregators, or even Jolt in the UK some months ago. So you are the owner of your data. You have your banking with La Caixa or whatever bank, and then you can decide, hey, I'm sharing this data with this company, and I'm allowing to another bank to enter in this bank, go for my data, my transactional data, get this data, and process them because I like them, the way they process. They offer me more things than you currently are offering to me. Or maybe I want to share simply, I'm asking for a mortgage in bank B, I need my data which are in bank A, and instead of bringing the papers and going to the other company and say, hey, this is how much my payroll or how much I whatever on my funds, they can connect directly, and this is working really nice, and it's very important. Oh, it's having a huge impact in the financial sector because any of you, sorry, you are the topic.
Right.
Are you using any sort of banking aggregator company?
You keep a company like. What do you mean by, like, I use Sabadell? Sabadell, why?
Okay. In Spain, have you ever used Fintonic?
No.
Do you know about Fintonic?
No.
Fintonic is a third company. It's not a bank, but they have the capacity. They have very good processing data, and everyone can use Fintonic for free. And what you do is, once you log into Fintonic, they ask you, give me your credentials of Sabadell, give me your credentials of BBVA. And with all those credentials, they can build a whole picture of your financials, and they can offer you a sort of alerts, saving plans, things that help to control your finances. That's something that the third company is doing based on the other companies.
So what's the name again?
Fintonic.
Fintonic, right?
Yeah, like tonic,
Right.
Finland and tonica, yeah. So, but wait. I'll explain you one better thing. So now, based on this directive, these companies can provide you different services that maybe your bank wouldn't wouldn't ever offer to you, because Fintonic would know that you have so many funds in this bank, so many loans in this bank, and they can have the whole picture of you. While the other bank knows that you have lots of funding but no loans, and the other bank doesn't know anything. So they can give you the whole overview, and they have the direct relation with you, which is the key of the business, having the relation with the customer based on data. So that's something here. What are the banks? So next time you are coming to another bank asking for a mortgage, what the banks are currently doing? Hey, please, instead of sending me any paper, give me your credentials of the other banks that you may have, and then I will go there and investigate your figures. And that's something quite strong, because then you can manage, if you are good enough processing this data and offering a customer a real satisfying experience, then you decide, okay, I can have my money in La Caixa, but the bank or that company that is really satisfying and the one I trust to do all my finances is Fintonic, or the bank that has also an aggregator as a service, for example. It's not a commercial, but so some banks are offering this service, and this service is offered thanks to PSD2, because you as a customer are saying, I give my credentials to this company, and then they can do whatever they want. And it's even more, because these credentials can even allow you, because previously when you want to make a transfer, okay, I have to still make a transfer, so I'll go to my bank to order the transfer. But that's no longer, that's also good. You could still doing it, but nowadays with these third companies, you can even send and transfer the funds and the money from the other company, from the other company, which is better. It's more convenient than always trying to be switching from one company to another company. So the bank, really provides and works for the customers, in benefit of the customer, dealing with all this data and operate the whole range of possibilities is the one that, well, will be the banks that will be winning the game. And this game is played into axes. One axis is the capabilities, because not all the banks have I'm just in the middle and maybe at home you're not seeing it. All these banks, well, all the banks, all the companies have to have in place the IT and all the process that they need to have in place to really process all the data, gather the data, store the data, and provide immediate feedback or whatever. So that's one thing. You have to have the capacity, but then, okay, I can have the capacities, but what should I do with all this data? That's the tricky thing. So it's not only the capacity, it's also the execution. One more. So these are the two axes that the banks are working. And now I'll explain you briefly regarding now, so we went from the other space surrounded by data. All these data are more or less affecting our days. With data, what are the trends of data in banking? And I will explain you briefly about BBVA vision on the usage of data. Okay? And it's numbers we are in 7 and we're still far away from the lift off. So we are working on this axis that I was mentioning, although, one second. So to really offer to the customers, because at the end, what we are willing is to have happy, satisfied customers and engaged customers that allow us to grow with them. And the way we deal with data and offer services to the data, it's quite important. It's not only the capabilities, but also the execution. So if we look into this picture, let's imagine that everything, we have an EI orchestrated omnichannel model, a long word, but at the end, everything is around your mobile device. And we have two separate places, or two separate parts. Above the glass, what customers are seeing, and below the glass, what customers don't see, but it's happening, it's already happening. So if we start with data, all kind of data, your social demographic data, the data that you have told to the bank, you're interested in buying a car, or you're having a baby, or whatever, or I don't like mortgages because I don't want to have debt, whatever. All these things are data that we are gathering, banks are gathering, banks and companies are gathering, but this is our view. So based on this data, you can have some sort of knowledge. So you know that he is living somewhere and he likes coffee or whatever. He's going out for dinner every Saturday because he has some kind of healthy financial. He has some money, whatever. So these are the knowledge that we get, and based on the data, we produce knowledge, and based on this knowledge, we offer something to these customers. So some customers will offer loans, some customers will be offered to investments, some customers will be offered with advice that say, hey, stop spending so much on the weekends because you are not going to have enough money. And with all this, we get different value proposals. But all these value proposals cannot be simply thrown to the customer like, hey, here you have our 20 value proposals, you will enjoy them. Because that's not the way it works, because the customer will end up overwhelmed with all this data, all these proposals. So we have to be smart enough to decide and to define which one will go first and in what moment and in what channel. It's not the same thing. For example, we offer to our customers, to our best customers, a pre-approved loan up to 20,000 euros. They have a loan only with 5 people, simply by saying yes. And we discovered that it was working really well. Our customers were satisfied. And what we saw is that one of the channels that you could say yes was the ATM towers or the ATM machines. And the thing was that we had lots of requests of loans during Friday nights and Saturday nights. People that were going out for a party, I'm running out of money, I will ask for a loan, I'll get some extra money or some big money and then continue the party. Is that okay for the bank? Yeah, because we're selling loans, we're happy with that. Is that fair? Are you comfortable selling loans to drunk people? I'm not so. So at the end, we simply, on the weekends, we take out the ATM machines, pre-approved loans to avoid these things. If you really want a loan, I think we can wait for after the hangover to ask for the loan.
So you take it off as in you just disable the service for that particular time?
Yeah.
Right.
We disable service. So that's what we did. And so once we have decided when and what we have to be told, then we have several channels to communicate this proposal to the customer. So when you log into the application, then you could see a banner, or maybe it's so important that even if you are navigating, reading the newspaper, for me it's worth it to pay a banner for you saying, hey, whatever offer, we have this for you. Or maybe it's so important that I have to call you, hey, you know that you are in red numbers, you have to fix that. So these are all the things, and then we have different channels. So at the end, basically, all of us have a mobile in the pocket. Mine is on the table. I don't know where's yours. Don't tell me if it's secret now. I want to see it. So regarding our vision, so we have below the glass all the things that have to happen without the customer being really conscious about what's happening, but the customer has to be conscious of what's happening and what we are saying to them. And BBVA has 6 key strategic priorities for this coming years, for these next 5 years. These are the six top priorities. It's financial health. We think, and we really are committed that if our customers are healthy, if their financial health is good, they will have happy lives and things go smoother. And that's our purpose, that's our main purpose, which is very linked also with sustainability. But we want to make business, so we want to acquire new clients. We want to develop our existing customers and acquire new customers. And the way we do it is crucial to have to be excellent. No, I would say even more than excellent, operating all these processes that we are having. We need to have in place to offer financial advice with sustainability and acquire new customers. And for doing such things, these are the 2 levels that we need a good team, they say the best team also. And the second one is data technology. So we have to be capable of we have to have the best tools in place to really do achieve these strategic priorities with the best team. So linked with these 6 priorities, we define 5, we call it data big bets. But we are not gambling. It's bet because we are putting all in for these bets, but we are not gambling because we are sure they are going to work. So and these are the 5 bets, data big bets that we are placing. So it's again below the glass, something that is happening. The customer is not aware of these things, but we're working on how to provide the best retail advice to the customers, saying next month you will have to pay your car insurance and you're running out of money. So please bring some money because you will end up in the red numbers, which is something stupid and basic if you think about it. Because every year, we're more or less are going to pay your car insurance, but all of us simply forget it, and no one is telling us, oh shit, the car insurance. So we have to acquire new customers. It's the relationship model, because if we are capable of acquiring, imagine, millions of new customers, how will we serve these customers? Because we as a bank have branches, but in these branches we have employees. But one employee can handle 500 customers. But if we are willing to acquire 1 million customers, our advisors will get born. So then we start using artificial intelligence to provide and to give them some advice and some help. Something quite stupid. In our banking application, you can chat with your financial advisor, saying whatever. And one simple stupid thing is when you think everything has been done and you have been solved, the 2 questions that do you want anything else? And you say no, okay, thanks, we keep okay, bye, whatever. For these 2 questions, take some time to type them. The way we are just detecting that the conversation is coming to an end, and say to the human, leave it. The machine will finish. Will end the conversation for you. It's only 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Okay, but then he can simply move to another customer and earn some time. And the customer, the human advisors, is that really provides some superior experience to the customer and better advice. So these are the data big bets. I'm going faster. It's 5:30. It's 6.
6:15. 6:15, right?
6 or 6:15, either way.
Okay, I think we now. If you haven't awake yet, then I'll recommend you to. I'll wait for you because you are my colleague. This is. So these data big bets have some sort of common things, which are the purpose, which are aligned with the business priorities and state priorities, the ambition, because we really want to make a leap of scale for BBVA. It's not only acquiring 1,000 customers, we're looking for acquiring 1 million more customers, or those sort of leaps. And the scope, which are global, because data are all around, and we have to be able to really leverage on that data big bets to really push the whole global organization. The same time, because we have to do it we have to deliver it on time and not in 20 years, because in 20 years, who knows what will be, and the execution, okay? Because then we are an international company, and we are have footprint in several countries: Spain, Turkey, Mexico, Argentina, Chile, and each of these countries never start in a different way. It's not that BBVA launched its own bank in each of these countries. We simply acquired existing banks, and then we transform them to make them BBVA. But all these banks have different IT structures and architectures. We are working to make them more homogeneous, but it's not always so easy. So, but this whole vision of data and that data organization has to be all over the same. So it's quite complex combining the global view with the local reality. So these data big bets have this mainframe to work. So we have it in a global level. We define what has to be done. Then we go to one country, we call it anchor country, and then we start developing things that have to be done, while we keep informed the rest of the countries. And once in one country has been something delivered, and it's being delivered and built in with a global mainframe, then we can scale it and expand into the further geography. And that's something that is so easy to be told, but it's not so easy to be done. Because when you think about Uber or Google, or let's say Uber more or less is the same company all over the world. They have the same platform, the same features. It's everything. It's more or less the same things with different language, but the functionalities are similar. So they can expand it really fast and easy. For sure, they have their struggles. But in our case, each country is different. Each country has its own infrastructure, IT. So building something global that can be expanded is quite different, and it's taking a lot of time. And for doing all these data big bets, we have a figure of one person, which we call it business translator, which is the person that is linked to the business and linked to the data teams, and it's capable of understanding the business needs and translate them to the data and IT, and then so they can sort and produce something that really solves the business needs. And this is more or less we call it. And then we have this figure here, we call it a factory, but there is no metal working. So it's a building here in Madrid, which is completely separate from the rest of the BBVA centers. It's fully dedicated of teams and people that really are experts on data. I work on that, but I'm not an expert. I have lots of good colleagues on that. And they are producing these AI models. They gather the data, they analyze the data, because at the end, I guess you have heard about the role of a data scientist. Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
You are data scientist?
My brother's a data scientist.
Okay, and I don't tell you anything else. But those people are really quite demanded here in Spain, I guess all over the world. So these are the people that we got here around 80 data scientists, which are really mastering on data, on BBVA data, and also data outside BBVA, and how to produce new experiences and new solutions to existing customers and existing problems. So I'll go briefly to the data matrix. So number 5. So 5 seconds just to list off the financial health. What we do is focusing on control my day-to-day, spend less, save more, manage my debt, build, and based on this, you can at the end you can give lot of tips to the customers, and what tips should be given in what moment and through what time channel is that we are working on. So, and we are working on we call it a diamond. It's the diamond structure. Each of the corners of these diamonds are the business team, the data team, the IT team, and the design team. Design for us is quite important, and design not just in terms of how fancy it is or how nice it is. It's how UX user experience is, and this is something quite important for us. And this stupid or easy screen has lots of hours of people thinking around it and analyzing where are clicking people, how are people behaving, what are people doing with that. So what to be shown, each of this is key. 1 zillion stupid things. I don't know if you can see here a small square that is starting, and you know that you simply know that is something coming. Of course, we are not the best in the world, but we are capable of being quite open to other experiences, other companies that are doing great, and they can somehow traduce and translate to us. So this is what we are doing. Well, how to be done? Things that have to be done. Okay, balance prediction, supply, subscription, all kind of things you can be done, and we have to be told to the customers. The second thing that we are working on, the second big bet, is the relationship model that I was mentioning before. How with one customer we can give service to 1 million customers, and maybe we can use bots, but something quite stupid. If now they are saying the metaverse is coming, we don't have advisors in the metaverse. I don't know how to say this. So should we start looking into creating metaverse advisors? So these are the sort of things that we have to be aware and working on that, because we are working on that little scale. And then AI automation. There are lots of things that can be automated. We as a bank have to be aware of people that are doing not very little things with money and things like that. And trying to, so we have our own processes to detect fraud process. But one thing that is costing us a lot are the false positives. So we detect something that we think is a fraud, we have to investigate, and then we end up saying it's not a fraud. And that's just to be completely sure that the fraud is not happening. We are being over cautelous on those things, and that's costing a lot of money and lots of analysis. So now we have developed some AI models to really focus on the most probable fraud process that could be happening, and that has saved us a lot of money. And that's also things that we are working on, or people that we know are going to be on default and won't start paying anymore the debts. How can we predict this behavior and to avoid and to just contact them? Hey, we are not giving you any more money, or start saving or whatever, because we know this is going to end up badly. So these things that we're working on. And then this is my topic, because I'm working this in. So this is regarding the open market. How do we acquire more customers? Because I don't know if you know about something about marketing. Say no.
Genius has helped me.
Okay, so basically when you do a marketing campaign, you are trying to sell something, a product or whatever, you look for, okay, the first thing you have to have in place is the team, okay? And you have to have a very good team in place, not this one, which is nice, but it's not clear. Okay, but we have a team, a team, and not those guys. And it's a mix, okay? It's a mix of people from really marketing teams, working on creative things like that. People that are working on risk and very linked and related with risk models and risk and fraud detection, things like that. but also looking, because they are so expert, so good on detecting behaviors of the customers to whom they can offer a loan, so they have mastered on detecting audiences and defining audiences to all audiences that can be offered some products. And the other thing is, we got the people that we want to sell something. We know how to do. We know how to give the messages, but then we want to give it in a customized way, because when you do a marketing campaign, you have to look into a funnel, like it's sort of a funnel, okay? And then there are three big steps. The first one is how to get the awareness, the consideration of the awareness that, hey, this is the brand, this is the service, hey, why are you willing to use it? And then you end up in the next step of the funnel is the consideration, okay, it works, seems to be nice, I think I'm interested. And then this finally, once you are interested, hey, you have to buy it. And you will have to engage with the customer. It cannot be only one time, it has to be forever. So for all these things, we will look into the foster relationship. So what we are doing is, for example, producing customized ads and customized prices. We know that you are healthy enough, you have funds enough for paying your car for yourself, but we know that you want to have someone, because we know how do you behave. We know that you want to have some money in the bank just in case. So that's why we offer you a loan to buy a car, because in case. And the price of the loan that we're offering to you is much lower than the rest of the customers, because you will think, oh, I'm not needing a loan if I want a car, because I already have some saved money. But okay, this is maybe so cheap, this loan is so cheap for me, and then I will go for this loan to buy the car. And then you will have two products instead of one. You will be happy because you are saving your money and you are paying a very low interest rate loan. So those are the things that we make. While for some of the customers that are desperate and they are willing to buy a car, and we are not willing, we can detect that that car is not going to be a good investment for them. We make high prices to try to avoid that. At the end, some people behave as they want. Okay. So these are the things that we're doing in engagement. When we talk about the consideration, is the step that you are aware of the product, you are doubting, should I go, should I stay, should I go? And then we work here with behavioral economics. Have you heard about it?
Just could you come again, sorry?
Behavioral economics?
Okay.
English is also rusty. But behavioral economics is science that was rewarded. The inventor or the owner of this science, it's not the science itself, but the owner of this idea was rewarded 2-3 years ago with a Nobel Prize. And what it says is that we as human beings have sort of brains. They call it reptilian brain and more advanced brain. The reptilian brain is like when we were reptiles, long time ago, but it's the things that manages the things that keep us alive. That if you touch something hot, you take out of your hand. That you do it instinctively, because that's brain. Okay, you have some sort of responses. Okay, so that's and if you manage to touch the guts of the people, they will respond in a different way. So you simply need to know what kind of message have you give to different customers or to different people to provoke different reactions. So something is given. If you have English, without the roof, car without roof, how you call it?
Convertible.
Convertible. You have a convertible.
American Zero.
I think she speaks English, yeah. If you have a convertible and open your convertible car in the streets with your window glasses down, it makes it much more attractive to steal than if you leave it with the glasses up. Because customers, robbers or stealers will see like it's more protected. So things like that touch you. And the way it touches you, the internal figure, makes you different responses. And how we are connecting these messages, this sort of message, because we are not tricking, we are not saying any which is not true. We are doing it in the right way. But it's the same thing that when you see the glass half full, half empty. Well, it's a sort of this. So we using data, design, how to external design things, and behavioral to produce sort of different experiences that we test with CRO, and then we test and learn what works better for the customer is for selling something. So this is something stupid, yeah? But for example, I'll go to the next one and I'll come back. So I'm saying, so imagine, this is the reality nowadays. Someone is coming to our website and is looking for information. So based on the data that we can gather from this visitor, we don't know it, it's not a customer, but we know from which devices, what devices is he using or she, whatever, is using, at what time of the day, where is it coming from? It's an ad, it's simply by just type our URL directly or whatever. Based on this data, we are producing customized experiences that make us really give that little push to make them become customers. So we have created several tips based on these behavioral economics biases to really go for the next step. So they are not something quite different, but something that you would say, oh, this is spectacular, what a big idea. But imagine, hey, you know that our app, it's 4.7 stars in the application, in the App Store. That gives to some customers the reassurance that, okay, this is a really nice application, and maybe I will start using it. Or with all the money that you're saving, you could go out for holidays, or maybe you could go out for a coffee, or you could go out for a weekend. Depending on the customers and depending on how are they behaving to this kind of small pushes, we understand and learn more, and maybe we can detect that people that is coming around noon are more open to open an account if we tell them, hey, we are 4.7, or if we detect they are younger or elder or whatever. So we got all these data, we put it in the cocktail cube, we mix it, and then we start producing with artificial intelligence the messages and learning and innovating what is working better and really updating. So one more thing that I was just passed over, sorry. This is the one I was mentioning before. So this is something that has cost a lot of time, but when you go to a website and I don't know nothing about you, nothing at all, and 3 same customers are coming to the website by just typing our URL, what message should I show on our home screen, on our home page? Because that's the main message that they will receive from us. And then I want to sell 3, 7 products, and I'm not sure which one is going to work or not. So what we do is the same. We have several possibilities, and we start launching the same at the same time. We keep listening and viewing what's happening, which one is working and not, and then we decide how to distribute this based on the responses. While some months ago, because this hasn't launched, the launch of this was just 2 months ago, the product that was placed on the homepage was simply there because a boss said, this is your time, this is his time or her time. And that was the business reasoning behind that, which wasn't really working. And always we had all kind of these disputes that, hey, mister, could you please place my product ahead of the other one because I'm needing more results. And now it's a data-driven decision. We have all in place and we see which one is working better or not. And then this is something that we are working for the engagement. And then we go into the awareness. I was mentioning before. So how should we be able to make our products more? How are we able to make the audiences aware that we are selling a good product or a good offer, and they have to take us into account when they're gonna do their listing, their shopping. So you give the time. The marketing campaigns are usually one for all. It's café para todos, we call it in Spain, in Spanish. So you create an audience that's easy, somehow easy. The accuracy, okay, could be more or less, but this is all the same for the same product. Even if it's a backpack or a key or a computer or whatever. So then you need to produce some creativities, some banners, some ad campaigns for that. You have to launch it on time because you have a campaign, you are expecting the results. And then you start measuring the campaign and then you get some results. Okay, that's nice. There's another way for doing this, which is if you do it for a more accurate audiences. So if I'm looking for, if I'm selling backpackages, I'm looking for people younger because they are heading to the school or to the university. I won't target the 30s, 40s people because they are so old, they have already studied, they won't buy a backpack. I'm looking for that. So creating these audiences is a little bit more complex, it requires more time. The accuracy is much higher. We need to create more creativity because we cannot say the same message to all these people. The performance will be better. But this is really costly and difficult. It's a lot of time consuming and a lot of efforts have to be for each of the campaigns. And what we are now pushing and working on is use artificial intelligence for doing such things. So if we can automatically create the audiences, produce the creativities, and launch all these campaigns at the same time, will be the best things, will be the best possible combination. And that's something that we're working on. So just 1 second for the ignition, for the lift up. So all these things that I'm saying you regarding how to acquire new customers, it's very nice to be said, but it's difficult to be done. And the competition outside is fierce. Because when you go to the customers, I go like hell. The spend on digital marketing is growing like hell. All the companies are investing in digital marketing. But the thing is that you have some brands that are willing using some media to connect with some potential customers. And the thing is that when you do a marketing campaign if you have 100 euros, brands have 100 euros of this budget, 60% of the budget goes for buying data to create the audiences, to accurate the campaigns. This is 60% of the budget. The other 40% of the budget, more or less, goes to the media that you will use to connect with those audiences. And the thing is, to the customer won't receive a penny. They simply will receive specific offers. But what's the sad thing of this? That all these data have been used to produce more accuracy customers are customer data, because it's your data, the ones that they are using to produce this accuracy campaign. And then I'll go briefly to some marketing concepts that you need to know before we go deeper. I'll go by briefly. Do you know CPM? Do you know something about digital marketing?
CPM.
Okay, CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. Okay, 1,000 times you see a banner, that can cost you €1 or whatever. Cost per click. How much does it cost one clicking one banner or one advertise? Cost per lead is the person that has done click fulfills a form, that he becomes a lead. How much has it cost to you? One lead. This is the cost per lead. But fulfilling a form is not enough. You have to buy the product or whatever, and then you have to pay for that or open an account. That's the cost per account. And the other thing that you have to be aware is the CTR. CTR is the click-through rate of the same banner. How many people of the impressions? How many people click on it? And the conversion rate is on the customers that have interacted with your banner. How many of them are really finally bought the product? Okay. So these are some basic. I'll go quite quickly. And then the last thing. I was mentioning before that these campaigns, these brands are buying some data to produce accurate campaigns. And the data that we're talking about is all these 4 categories. Zero-party data is the data that you buy if you want, you provide your data to the companies. Hey, when they make you some questions when you're buying at IKEA, they ask you, can you give me your postal code? That's a zero-party data, okay? Or can you tell me, can I make you some questions? Do you have an experience? Vanilla, whatever. Those are zero-party. First-party data are the data that they can get based on the interactions with you. If I'm a bank, all the transactional data that I get, that I see that where are you buying, what are you buying, or what are you, whatever, I can see that's my first-party data. All these data, I can share it with third company. I can go to Coca-Cola and say, hey, Coca-Cola, do you want to know how much money do my customer have? Do you want to sell golden Coca-Cola for my rich customers? So, okay, let's sign a deal and we exchange data. Of course, customers of both companies have to have agreed that this data could be shared with third companies, okay? So this will be second party data. The data that you receive or have access of data of another company, of course, through an agreement, through a legal agreement. And third party data are the data that you are spreading all around without being conscious normally, and some companies are gathering and selling for you, selling without you, okay? So this is the third party data. So I'll explain you briefly. When you go into the marketing, into the digital marketing channel, all these data, remember the 60% budget of the company are spent to find those really good targets. And those targets have to be sold the product. And when has these products to be sold is when you visit a web page. And once you are in a web page, I'll show you a process that happens only in 200 milliseconds. I'll show you briefly.
Welcome to 200 milliseconds, the life of a programmatic ad impression. Jane Doe clicks on a URL and the publisher's content begins to load in browser. Publisher may find information it has stored on Jane Doe, possibly in its data management platform, or DMP. Publisher sends available information to its ad server, asking ad server whether an ad campaign is available that would target Jane Doe. If there is a campaign matching Jane Doe's profile, an ad is served. If no campaign targets Jane Doe, the server seeks to match the impression, programmatically requesting response from selected traders, ad networks, and supply-side platforms, or SSPs. If the impression is not cleared, the server may seek to clear the impression in a programmatic direct way via private exchanges. If the impression is again not cleared, the request is sent to an open ad exchange in hopes of achieving liquidity. Open Ad Exchange sends a bid request containing information on Jane Doe's browser, website URL, and ad type to multiple bidders, including traders, ad networks, and demand-side platforms, or DSPs. Each bidder processes bid request, overlays it with additional user data and marketers' targeting and budget rules. Each bidder's algorithm evaluates the request, selects the creative, and sends it along with optimal bid price to Ad Exchange. Ad Exchange selects winning bid from bidders' responses through second price auction. Ad Exchange sends winning ad URL and price from winning bid to Publisher's ad server. Publisher's ad server tells Jane Doe's browser which ad to display. Jane Doe's browser pulls ad from winning bidder's ad server and sends matching ad to browser. Browser displays web page, including matching ad. Winning bidder's ad server receives ad tag data on Jane Doe's initial interaction experience. And that is 200 milliseconds, the life of a programmatic ad impression. For more information, visit us at mediacrossing.com.
So this is what happens when you go to our website, okay, every time. And that bit is 60% of the budget, and that's the chart that I showed you before. So, okay, so this is more or less all the participants that you have seen in the video, and all these companies are making lots of videos. Okay, so with all these data, for example, you cannot only use it, you can create some good and nice campaigns. So this one, I don't know.
Timing is everything. So Connects found out of their costs when they launched their cold flu campaign in the hottest October ever. The results were sickening. The following year, we found a remedy: adaptive planning. That means, like everyone else, we did a bit of self-diagnosis before going to the doctor. We Googled. Or to be specific, we started an AdWords auction with deliberate intention of losing, bidding on keywords to get local data on people looking for remedies. This meant we could adapt the Kleenex budget and only spend where people were actually falling ill, ensuring that at the first sign of a sneeze or sniffle, Kleenex was at hand and in hand. It paid off. With over 96% of media spend going to regions suffering a live flu outbreak, Kleenex saw total sales rise by 40% year on year in the first 2 months of the campaign. That's 432,499 extra boxes sold. Now that is a figure not to be sneezed at. So now, whatever the health of the nation, thanks to a revolutionary new way of using research data.
Well, it's not so revolutionary, but they simply start using it, okay? So this is one example that I want to show you. So based on data, how can you make accurate campaigns and simply spend the right amount of money in the right customers? I'll show you one fun example that makes you, that I hope it makes you laugh. Have you seen this TV commercial? It's all good, man.
Upside down, boy, you turn me inside out and round and round. I said upside down, you're turning me, you're giving love instinctively. Round and round, you're turning me. I say to thee respectfully, upside down, you're turning me, you're giving love instinctively. Around and around, you're turning me. I say to thee respectfully, I said upside down, you're turning me.
Oh, you can find commercial, and you will buy a Mercedes because you will be very comfortable. But what happens next? And then I'll show you this one.
See? It's just like a Mercedes. Huh?
So imagine if you work at Java, you make a commercial, what would be the best target for these guys? The ones that saw the Mercedes commercial. And what happens when you go to you see the commercials on YouTube, you say you like it, you see a post or whatever, you immediately know what is the audience that is more willing to watch another video based on hints. And you show them the Java ad, and then you will probably say, hey, someone, I want to go to the Java instead of for the Mercedes. So again, it's the usage of data that we can work on producing more smart and better campaigns. So that was one example of some examples of how you could use data. And then I'll go to another one. So these are thousands of companies are working and willing to get that money. And this is, I was mentioning before, what the third-party data is. Data that you are sharing all around, and no one is taking care of you. What you share, what you behave, but no one really knows if you're buying something or not. And that's the golden person that goes so far and buys somewhere we have, because they know what are you buying or not. You tell me that I'm not. We are 3 minutes. Okay. I'll show you. I'll go briefly because I'll skip this one, and then I'll show you this one because I think. What time is it?
No, it's 6 p.m. like 10 minutes.
10 minutes we have. Okay. I'll show you regarding what we were mentioning. What are you sharing or not? Not this one.
Compatible.
Ah, sí, sí, sí. Yeah, sorry.
Yo creo que soy una persona inquieta.
Honesto, amable.
Alegre, risueña.
Sí, bastante llorona.
Sharing
Soy José Ramón Díaz.
Lía González Sánchez.
Me llamo Francisco Javier Fernández Rodríguez.
Soy Laura Enrech. Y soy Laura Enrech.
Ay, por favor.
Me da un poco de miedo.
Está auténtico.
Qué pijada.
Hola, soy una versión de Laura.
Creada a partir de la data de todos sus dispositivos.
Me encanta, vamos, que me la llevo para casa. ¡Ay, me encanta!
Buena, es mi compañera desde hace 8 o 9 años, mi amiga, mi complemento.
En 1810 mensajes que intercambiamos hay 0 palabras de amor.
Sí. Antes no lo era mucho, pero a día de hoy sí. El madurar y demás ha hecho que al final coja más confianza en mí misma.
Para conquistar a mi pareja busqué en varias ocasiones tutoriales de cómo conquistar a un chico.
Eso es verdad. Ay, calla, que ni me acordaba, es verdad.
Sí, estoy contento con mi trabajo.
En el último año hice 177 búsquedas de trabajo.
¿En serio?
Pues recetas de cocina, la verdad es que es lo que más veo. Y en Instagram esta tendencia que hay ahora de vídeos es la que más rabia me da.
Me gusta ver vídeos de gente reventándose granos.
Eso también es verdad. Ostras, totalmente cierto, claro.
Sí, yo lo que le remacho mucho a mis hijas, que se dediquen a lo que les guste realmente, que no piensen en otra cosa más que en hacer algo que harían aunque fuera sin cobrar.
No permito que mi hija se dedique a lo que más le gusta, que es ser artista tatuadora.
Bueno, ahí hemos tenido una pequeña polémica.
Sí, al 100%, al 100%.
Because we are running out of time, but I want to show you one final one. So it's again, all these data are open and accessible to lots of companies. These companies are making huge money with that. And what if you get paid for your data? So I'll show you one. This is I'll show you. This is the video. Sorry. It's 5 minutes, but I think it's worth it.
We know you love the texture of fine Italian suede. We know that you are a man of great style. We know that suits boost your confidence. Just for you, Jesse, we have handcrafted a suit that will be a great addition to your wardrobe. We have designed a canvas premium suede suit that molds perfectly to your shoulders and chest. Wear it on your date with Nicole next week, and we promise you that she will be caught by your fine taste of class. With love and care, Dress and Code.
Collecting biometric data. Data sold. Data sold. New message.
Read it to me.
The highest bid on your photo of a heart in the mirror is 87 cents. Would you like to sell the photo to bestdates.com? By selling, you automatically...
I'm high on believing that
that you're in love with me. Lips as sweet as candy, its taste is on my mind. Girl, you got me thirsty for another.
New message from Leon.
Yes, sir. Lucas and I are heading downtown to buy some new suits. You want to come as well? So are you joining or what?
But I already went suit shopping yesterday. A man can never have enough suits, right?
Ah, come on, I need my professional suit advisor.
Hey, Mila!
Hi, Tessa.
Hey, so nice to see you.
You too.
How did you know I was here?
I saw it on Nike.com that this is your running track.
Ah, yeah, of course, of course. Hey, how are things with you and Robert?
It's good. We just got back from Spain.
Spain?
Yeah.
How was Spain?
It was good. Hey, Jessa.
Yes?
Do you still design celebration cards like you used to?
Yes, I do.
Because I was going to ask you something, but if you could just keep it to yourself.
Of course.
The thing is, Robert and I are expecting a baby. Robert and I are expecting a baby. Robert and I are expecting a baby.
You have 5 new messages.
Read out, please.
Baby planners would like to congratulate you and Robert with your upcoming baby. The next time you visit our store, you will receive a 20% discount. As a newly parent, we understand you have a lot of questions. Our personnel will be waiting to answer the questions you might have.
Next message.
Mila, are you expecting a baby? Future parents just announced the new parents of this month, and I saw your name on that list. This is gonna be so great. Now we can go shopping for tiny baby clothes and everything.
Next message.
Well, so what if you could get paid for your data? For doing this thing, I had a quick spike. We are running out of time. That's happened 4 main issues that we have to solve. The first one is the lack of awareness. People aren't aware of what they're sharing publicly and for free and some sensitive data, and that's something quite scary. The second thing is that people want to give we want to give our anonymity. We don't want to tell anyone who we are. And probably, I don't know how many of you have different sort of profiles in the social pages. That's something important. And the other thing is chaos. It's a complete chaos about outside because we don't have the tools so far in place to gather and protect our data or even order this data. And even if we have the tools, we don't have the time and the willingness to do these things. And the fourth thing is, what is the value of this data or data? Because how much expensive is sharing with someone? How much can I earn by sending someone is pregnant or not, or by sharing an email? We have done lots of tests to investigating customers, and people, their answers of the people are quite different depending on what they have. People think that, hey, my agenda is quite valuable because I have the phone of Cristiano Ronaldo. While that's maybe not useful at all because I'm not calling it Ronaldo. Yes. So the perception of the value of the data is quite different. And once you fix a level, people will start saying, hey, my email is 200 euros worth or not. That's the scary thing. So there are lots of things that are trying to get value of this data. These are some of them trying to get value for the customers. And these are some that's working in Spain. And for example, this is a real example. It's a company that is paying you a subscription to El Mundo or some newspapers only because you are sharing with them your data. The subscription is around 9 euros per month, and you share with them your data, your interest, and then they give you the premium, the access to the newspaper for free. And so this is so we started, if you remember, we started going to the outside data, all of data. All this data could be used on banking. And well, how now we are thinking beyond and doing what can be done with data. And this is more or less, I'm running out of time, so I don't know if you have any questions.
For me, nothing. It was clear for me.
Ask the students online.
Oh, yeah, please, if they are not sleeping.
Does anyone have any questions for Gabriel? See, maybe they need a minute.
There's chat things.
See. I added the survey in the chat. If you all can take a moment at the end to fill it out for us.
Can you send it again, because I'll be joining right now. Just a minute.
I can send it to you too, Sean. Does anyone have any questions for Gabriel?
No, thank you. It was a very interesting session.
Thank you, Davina.